we have got, it looks as though everyone who was there has been able to join. So can I say good morning to everyone? I'm Ian Gray. I am chairman of the Egyptian British Chamber of Commerce, and it's our pleasure to be able to host this, which is going to be the final version of the workshops that we have been running for the introduction of the new customs regulations and processes which are coming in Egypt. This morning, we've got three people speaking to us this morning. We will have a lot of the session. We've got Peter Kern, who is the Chief Operating Officer of CargoX, who have basically created the system which allows us all to upload everything and deal with trade to pre-clear customs in Egypt. We have Walid Adel with us this morning as well. And I've got to know both of you guys really quite well through a few of these workshops, so thank you. Walid comes from Masra Technology Systems, MTS, who were charged by the Egyptian government for actually creating this single window approach into dealing with Egyptian customs. I think for all of you who are joining us from around the UK, although this is about Egypt, this whole single window approach, which translates in Arabic into Nafeza as the window, this single window approach is likely to be coming in for countries all over the world as we're seeing an increase in digitization. It's a particular welcome to chambers all around the country. We're grateful for a number of chambers around the country for extending invitations for your members, and we're very happy to be able to provide this today with, in particular, Walid and Peter going to take us through, in a pretty sleeves rolled up way, how to handle all of this. So hopefully at the end of it, you will know exactly what to do. But before we go on to the practicalities of it, I want to extend a particularly warm welcome to Tamer Mustafa. Tamer is, he either is or he's just about to become the Minister Plenipotentiary and the head, importantly, the head of the Economic and Commercial Office at the Embassy of Egypt in London. And as the Chamber, we've always enjoyed working closely with the Commercial Office. And Tamer is still in Cairo. Well, I think it's Cairo. I know you're not in London, Tamer, so it's a pleasure to meet you this morning for the first time. And if I may, I'd like to hand the floor over to you, and with a big UK welcome for when you're going to be able to come here to London, and then we'll kick off the more sleeves rolled up bits after you. So over to you, Tamer.
Thank you, Ian, and a very good morning to everyone. Mr. Peter, Walid, and distinguished representatives from UK companies and all friends. I would have loved to join you from London, but inshallah, very soon I'll be with you in a few days or so. What an important topic to start with, my new posting in representing Egypt in the UK. Which is the new single window or trade net, that the long-awaited one that would help everyone, whether exporters to Egypt and businesses in Egypt as well. Let me just share a few words about the current situation with regards to the numbers of trade between the UK and Egypt. With our volume of trade in 2020 reached 1.8 sterling pounds. And during the first half of 2021, the volume of trade increased 17.6% during the first half of 2021 compared to 2020, and our exports to the UK grew 25% in the first half of 2021, and our imports from the UK also grew 12.6% during the first half of 2021. That's very encouraging for everyone, and makes the new single window or Nafeza is a very important tool to reduce the cost for exporters and the business at large, and reduce also the time of custom clearance, etc., as we well hear from our distinguished speakers who are going to explain the new system to all of us. Well, what we import from the UK, the major items are iron and steel, tools and equipment, seeds, potatoes, electric machines and equipments, fuels and petroleum, veggies, plastic products, and oils and essential oils. Till now, I have been informed that more than 18,000 of companies have been registered on the Nafeza system. I'm sure that our colleagues will have maybe updated numbers. And more than 1 million custom clear declarations have been processed through the system so far. That was in trial period since April 2019. And it's a big leap to fulfill the overall government objective to reduce the custom clearance to less than 1 day only. And it aims also at upgrading our trade infrastructure and transforming Egypt into a world center for logistical services, benefiting from our strategic location at the heart of the world. Independent assessment of the Nafeza operations on the trial period till now revealed that the system on the custom procedures and the custom clearance period improved by 55% so far. And that's a very encouraging indicator. I don't want to talk much. I want to hear more from our distinguished speakers, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to welcome everyone until we meet in person, hopefully. Thank you very much, and I look forward to hear from our speakers what they have to tell us and explain to make life easier for everyone. Thank you very much.
Tama, thank you very much indeed. Thank you for that, and thank you for those encouraging statistics on that. Now, I think I'm going to turn to Walid next. And Walid, we have a different audience from times we've been before. So I know you'll say some of the things you've said before, but leading on from what Tama was saying, if there's anything constructive you want to add about what we've been learning through the trial period, and it's been a very active trial period, in particular this period July through to September. So if there's anything you want to add to that, that would be helpful. But before you start, can I just say, for everyone who's tuning in and listening, we will take Q&A, obviously. We'd like you to use the button at the bottom of the screen for Q&A. We centrally will use the chat to broadcast things. So for instance, Peter from CargoX has already put up a good link for us, a couple of links there for people to be able to use, which are his CargoX links. So if you want to ask questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. So no more ado, I will hand over to you, Walid, to tell us. MTS, I've said it before, but the Egyptian government set you up for, you have the date, you have the demands, no pressure. It must have been such an easy job.
Very easy. Actually, for the past couple of days, we have been literally sleeping at the office. I live far away, like an hour from the office. Actually, I didn't go home for the past 48 hours. It has been hectic, from a meeting to a meeting to another meeting. And then after 5 o'clock, you start your daily work activities. So no pressure on us at all. The only thing I want to add is that the past week, actually, the numbers have been increasing tremendously, which is a great sign for us. Yesterday, we had 2,000 concurrent users at the moment requesting an ACID and interacting with our system. That never happened before. That's actually our peak moment. 2,000 concurrent users on our portal. That's a great achievement for us. Actually, as of this moment, as Mr. Tamer said, first of all, I want to thank him for the great introduction, and I'm really looking forward to meet him in person. Until this moment, we have almost 20,000 registered companies on the platform. 17,000 of which are importers, 2,000 brokers or custom clearance companies, and 210 shipping lines or shipping agents. What about the exporters? I think Peter would be more capable on replying this question, but excuse me, Peter, I'll be taking, I'll be saying your statistics now. CargoX now has 34,000 registered exporters on the platform. I think almost 1,000 of which are from the UK. So I think the UK exporter needs to register more on CargoX, because trust me, guys, 1st of October is coming very soon, and you need to register and you need to verify yourself on CargoX in order to continue doing business with Egypt after 1st of October. Second thing I want to say, the new system aims for three things, three simple objectives. Egypt wants to do some more governance. How can we do the governance? We need to know who's exporting to us and who's the importer and the type of shipment, the commodity itself. And I think that there are three simple questions that people would agree with us, that any advanced country would know these data before entering or before even doing the transaction. Second thing, risk management. Dangerous and hazardous and low quality products. We need to put an end to this. We need to have good quality standards, as our president said it last week. We need European or high quality standard goods to be imported for the Egyptian market. We don't want grade 10 and grade 12 products. This time has ended. Third thing, which is the key objective, trade facilitation. When everything is processed electronically, that's an easier process. When everything is done through one single portal or one single system, we're easing the process, we're facilitating it. So how will this reflect on the Egyptian market and the economy? It will reduce the importation cost, which will definitely reflect on the prices of goods, definitely. It would reduce the time release of the cargo, which also translates into money. The more time that the container stays in the port, the more demurrage it pays. And the demurrage, Egypt paid demurrage in 2019 over $2 billion demurrage fees. So if we as a system could save those $2 billion by 50%, that's a great achievement for us. So we're counting on your support. Please register on CargoX. Please get verified so you can continue your business with Egypt after the 1st of October. And if you have any questions, I'm sure you guys have tons of them. I'll be gladly, I'll be able to answer them, hopefully.
Okay, thank you, Willie. We keep talking about the 1st of October, and I'm just going to go over to Peter next, but can you just confirm, Willie, my understanding is that the 1st of October is, the starting point has to be from the importer in Egypt, and the 1st of October is the date of confirming the order.
No,
It's
1st
not...
of October, would anything that will be shipped after the 1st of October or on the 1st of October, date of shipping, date of departure, this will need to have an ACID on it. Anything prior to that will be exempted. No need to do an ACID for it. But as of 1st of October, date of ship, date of arrival, sorry, date of departure.
Okay, and the date of departure is going to be based on the bill of lading.
Voila.
Okay, thank you. You can tell I've been sitting through some of these workshops before. There we are. Okay, so I think this, so that everyone who's watching, you know, we are already at the 23rd of September. If you're sending things to the docks, I think the other thing that's important to remember behind this is that this is a new system coming in for cargo shipped by sea. It is not yet coming in for air cargo. So if you're in real trouble and you have a problem, you may have to look at air cargo. Also, if you've done that, so it is an escape route for people, albeit expensive. But we're going to turn to Peter now, because this isn't, Peter, you could take everyone through, you know, basically how it's meant to work. And I would suggest everyone watches this if you've not seen any of this before, but bearing in mind one thing, in that if you try to tell someone how to drive a car, it's going to seem very, very complex. However, when you get into a car and start driving it, it becomes easier. There are things to learn, but it becomes easier. And I think when we listen to Peter, using CargoX is a similar experience. So and Peter will no doubt tell us that CargoX is going to run as smoothly as the best cars in the world as well. So Peter, over to you.
Thank you very much, Ian. Thanks, Walid and Tamer for words before that. Representing CargoX, I'm actually sitting in Slovenia, which is a small European country in the Alps, part of the European Union and subject to European rules and laws. CargoX is a technology partner to Nafeza. A small portion to what Nafeza is actually doing, right? The magic happens in Egypt with a single window, but an important part in terms of exporters around the world, since we are facing the exporters to submit the required data documents prior to the shipment for the processing of the instant import customs clearance at the time of the arrival. I will be as practical as possible today because we are really approaching the mandated date, 1st of October. So I will share my screen and guide the participants through, first of all, source of information, right? Be informed before you start is the best way to approach. And then I will also go straight into the platform itself and share some practical guidelines on how to manage the registration, leading to successfully sharing the documents towards the Nafeza system. Again, as practical as possible today, with no videos or recordings, simply sharing my screen. I have shared all the links towards the material that I will go through today into your chat, so you can save them into your browsers for the usage later on. Available information about CargoX is on our webpage, where you can inform yourself about the technology. We use blockchain as a technology for the authenticated document transfers, electronic signatures, endorsement, and of course also the transfer of title when it comes to electronic bill of ladings. You can familiarize yourself about that on the page. The web page itself is the source of the application. So on the top right-hand side corner, you can see the button that says register. The process of registration starts here, as well as after you have created your login credentials, you can log in from the web page on the button that says login. Before you do that, I welcome you to click on the button that says platform help. That's a very informative user manual for all the participants. In detail, we explain the registration process, the login process, how to manage your company details, about your contacts and using the platform. So please inform yourself before starting creating your profile on CargoX platform. I will point here to number 1.6, managing company details. Very informative part. Please, I suggest and I welcome all the participants to spend some time going through the material, how to set up the company profile, why tax settings are important, how to go into company verification, how to manage users, and explanation about the electronic signature. We call it the blockchain key because our technology is blockchain, but that is audible, personalized electronic signature, which each user is using to sign specific document and to sign specific transaction of documents. All the material is equipped with print screens from the platform, so it's very informative to go through at the time or before you engage in creating your account on the platform. Then another very important source of information, of course, is the official Nafeza webpage. CargoX is a technology partner, so when it comes to procedural questions, which documents, master bill of ladings, house bill of ladings, LCL shipments, Those questions, I'm sure you will be able to address directly with Nafeza, and they will explain about the practical view on the procedural elements of the whole process. So this being said, I will now go and share the platform itself. So again, after you have registered and created your profile, you can enter the platform directly from the system, and the system will guide you towards, and the system will then guide you into the platform itself. So again, register, and then later on you can also log in from the platform itself, enabling your credentials and EUR. At the time when you are creating your company profile, the first user will also need to create and confirm his electronic signature or blockchain key. A hint here, be very careful where you store the credentials of your electronic signature and the encrypted password, which is protecting your personalized electronic signature. We have a lot of questions coming in from users around the world. They have misplaced or forgotten the password that is protecting their electronic signature. So bear in mind when your colleagues or yourself are creating this, make sure that you save the credentials of your electronic signature and encrypted password somewhere on your computer where you can access it safely and securely. With this, I will now enter the platform itself. The layout of the platform is a combination of your standard email and online banking, right? So we wanted to make the user interface as simple as understandable as possible, even though behind it's a very complex technology. At the first, I will really like to point you towards the left-hand side of the platform, and you will find as a user all needed information how to be successful in creating the ACI envelope and all the documents. First, I will point you towards the My Company details. As soon as you create your profile on CargoX platform, you can check your company details on My Company tab on the left sidebar of the platform. You can once again verify whether all the details are accurate, your address, your registration number, VAT number, and you can always edit the company details if you found a mistake. Very important part of the process, which I know this is creating some unrest within the community, is verification. As you are dealing and communicating directly with the regulator, with customs authorities in Egypt electronically, we need to establish undisputed digital identity of each exporter around the world. For that, we use a very detailed KYB procedure. And I will click here on the tab that says Get Verified. In order to establish digital identity, we are verifying and checking your profile versus your national company registry, the court registry of the companies in your country. For that, we are using a third-party service, DNB, and we are calling the national court registries to verify the credentials of your company. That's a payable service. And the second stage of verification, we need to verify your company profile versus your bank account. So that leads towards the purchase of units on CargoX platform. What are units? Units are a payable method on the platform to pay for all activities within the platform. Users purchase units in fiat currency, in US dollars or euros. Units are topped up on the platform on the balance, top right-hand corner balance, where users can always observe the status of their units. That leads me again towards the left-hand sidebar with the billing tab. I'll click on it. The system will display the available packages of units, which each organization can then choose. If there's nothing appropriate for your needs, you can always reach out to our support team and order a special pack of units. The process is simple. It starts with choosing a package. As you can see, all other payment methods are locked. Only the bank wire transfer is open for the first purchase of units, because again, we need to verify each company's bank details versus the company profile. So only the bank wire transfer is open, either SEPA or SWIFT, depending on which jurisdiction you are. Please bear in mind, verification process takes literally a couple of minutes from our perspective, but count in the bank transfer time. For SWIFT, it can take between 5 and 7 days, and we can only complete the verification process after we have recorded the payment on CargoX bank account, verify your bank account details versus your profile on the platform, right? So that is prolonging the verification process because of this element. So we are days away from 1st of October. Please keep this in mind, that verification process is affected by the speed of the international bank transfers. Once you go through, you can also here add an additional internal purchase order number or something that will satisfy your internal company needs. The system will then display what's about to happen, which sort of units are you purchasing, equivalent amount in US dollars, and then you complete the purchase. In this moment, the system has generated an email towards the users of your account on the platform with PDF pro forma invoice being attached. And of course, all the beneficiary details are available on the pro forma invoice. If I go into my email, you will see how this looks like. It's an email notification about the pro forma invoice. Please do follow and observe instructions for the payment. And as said, it's also available as an attachment in PDF. Our system is through IT interface connected to our bank. So we will automatically detect the payment. The system will automatically top up the balance of your units, which will be a source of payment to complete the verification part. As said, it is payable. And once you are verified, you will get a nice label saying a verified company. Only companies with this green label, verified company, will be able to submit ACI envelope and documents towards Egyptian customs authorities. The process is simple. On the top left-hand side of the platform, you see a button Compose. The system displays available envelopes. For Egypt, you are mandated to use the predefined ACI envelope towards Nafeza. You can choose the file. It displays. The recipient is pre-logged. All the documents and data will go directly into Nafeza system. And as Ian already mentioned, and Walid, the process starts in Egypt by the distributor, importer, logging into Nafeza system, pre-declaring the shipment with some basic information, and the system, Nafeza system, will communicate and produce so-called ACID number. It's a long 19-digit number, which you will need to insert into the predefined field for the ACID number. And of course, you will also need to equip your documents with ACID number, right? So once you have your bill of lading issued under shipment remarks, you will also need to have this ACID number displayed. You will be able to upload the documents into this envelope and start the process of transferring, electronically signing the documents and transferring them to Nafeza. Bear in mind, when it comes to bill of lading, it's a copy of the bill of lading, so you are not transferring the title of the bill of lading towards the authorities. The title of the bill of lading you will need to send separately, either traditional way on paper, or you can also separately through our standard envelope ask your shipping line to produce electronic bill of lading, and you, through a separate procedure, are able to electronically transfer the title between the participants, including the bank, if there is a letter of credit. And then with this, you can start uploading your documents straight from your computer, from your backend system. CargoX also allows deep integration into your backend system for full automatization. But you can then, from your backend system, upload your documents into the envelope, equip the document with the correct document type. If I start typing in, you can see the copy of the bill of lading number. And with this, the system will automatically recognize this document, green label, green tick on the bill of lading, and you can then initiate the complete the pack of all required documents from the customs authority perspective and send the documents to Nafeza. I'm sure there's going to be questions about deadlines. The important deadline is that you need to receive the ACID number from your importer before you give shipping instructions to your shipping line, because you will need to communicate ACID number to your carrier. And once the vessel has sailed, you still have then time to complete all the documents and submit them towards Nafeza. Walid will correct me if I'm wrong, but I think at least 48 hours prior to vessel arrival into Egypt, it would be good to have all the documents already submitted into the Nafeza system. So I will repeat once again the most important parts. After you create your profile on the platform, bear in mind to safely save the credentials, your passports, and your electronic signature. You will click on the your profile, check again whether there is anything to be corrected, edit, start the verification process by going into the billing part, purchase some units from CargoX. It will be displayed on your balance. You will get a green label that you are a verified company. And then you will be able to start the process by selecting the Egyptian ACI envelope towards Nafeza and start uploading the documents after your importer has communicated to you the ACID number for that specific shipment. And from now on, I'm open to any kind of questions. I will have all the systems open, so I can also share and show if there's going to be the need for that. But back to you, Ian.
Peter, thank you very much indeed. I'm going to kick off with a couple of questions and then come to one of the ones as part of what's on there. I know from previous discussions, and it may be Walid that has to answer this one, but we've had the question before where the importer in Egypt who kicks the process off has also asked for copies of the documents to be sent separately to clear the banking payments. And I know that at some point in time we'll manage to get this fully linked. But Walid, can you let us know an update on the position for now?
So from a customs perspective, we don't need the documentation anymore but the banks, in order for you to do the banking cycle, you still need the paper documents until we finish the integration with the EBC or with the banking company. So when will this be done? This will be done hopefully before the 1st of November. So unfortunately, for a month, you will be sending the documents for the banking cycle, and then you will be doing your custom clearance cycle with the electronic copies sent via CargoX.
Right, thank you.
Ian, before I stop sharing the screen, I would just like to highlight one important thing. This is a very common question. The importer in Egypt will ask each exporter to provide CargoX ID, right? So each exporter under My Company tab, company details, under the address of the company, you can trace your CargoX ID number. You can easily copy it to clipboard and share it with your importer in Egypt. This is not a confidential information. This is just a numeric customer code of the company on the platform, right? So now you know where to trace very important information that each importer will ask, the CargoX ID number, under the My Company tab, company details. It is visible and it can be shared with the import.
Okay, Peter, well, okay, we can always come back to sharing the screen again. Thank you. I think it may be easier for some of the questions. But I think what I would translate what you've just said is that CargoX ID is just the name of the company in the language that your system uses, and that is,
exactly.
Although it's a lot of numbers, it is this is not confidential about any particular shipment. It is merely the name of the company and the registered number for that. Okay. We've had one question come through on the Q&A, which is actually from the agricultural side in Egypt, and the question was actually, does this system have anything to do with exports of agricultural products from Egypt? Now I'm going to turn to Walid for that. But I think my understanding, Walid, is it's not. This is all about importing into Egypt. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay, good. Okay, let's go through that. One of the other questions that's come up is whether, in fact, if this is to reduce the demurrage costs, is there anything that's being done to actually, instead of going for the 21 free days that people have had to allow, can this now be less? And my hope is, and I think your hope as well, is that by sending all of the paperwork through the CargoX system to customs before the goods arrived in Egypt, then in effect some of the difficult things to be cleared are actually going to be cleared in advance. So the physical aspect for the goods should go through more quickly. Again, Walid, can you add to that, or is my understanding correct?
Correct diagnosis. 100%.
Okay. So I think it's for everyone to think about it. When you've been dealing with Egypt in the past, things took a long time to get through customs, and a lot of that was pulling out the paperwork and going forward. I think this one will probably be more for Peter, and this is, will the freight forwarder add the bill of lading, or will I add this as an exporter? And will the forwarder also need access to CargoX? So
I think Walid will take this one, right?
Okay.
Pleasure, yes. So actually, the exporter is the one mandated with uploading the commercial invoice and the copy of the bill of lading. The shipping line or the freight forwarder does not need to send it via CargoX. But if the exporter wants to involve him in the transaction, he can with the ACID number, he can send the documents with the same ACI envelope for the bill of lading. But actually, it would be easier for the business. It would be even more logical if the exporter was the one uploading all the documents. So no need for him to be onboarded.
Okay. Now I'm hoping. I picked that up from an earlier question. But someone called Louis, who was actually asking if the nominated freight forwarder handling the shipment, is it up to them to upload the documents? But I think you have answered that question just now. So Louis, if you want to follow up on that, then please ask something else. And I'm going to come on to one that I know is another issue. It's about the timing and how do we upload things when people are shipping from their own factory in the UK, and there's two bits. Do you have to upload a draft bill of lading beforehand, or is it the actual bill of lading? And what happens if the process is not complete before the vessel arrives actually in Egypt? So I'm going to leave you guys to answer that. Now, which of you wants to volunteer on that? Is that Walid or Peter?
Sorry, Peter.
No.
The copy of the bill of lading, copy of the original of the bill of lading. That's one. Two, once the shipment documents are ready, maybe prior to vessel departure or maybe after vessel departure, it doesn't make any difference for us. He needs to send the shipment documents before the vessel arrival to the Egyptian ports. That's one. Second issue, it's a copy as Peter said earlier, it's a copy of the original bill of lading. That's 2. 3, I think that's the question, right, Ian? Or did I miss something of it?
I was
What will
reading, I'll
happen
be
if
on, let me, Waleed, I was reading one of the other questions and I wasn't listening very carefully.
It's okay, it's okay.
Sorry.
So I think
I'm
the
sure
third
you got
one,
it
what
right.
happens if any processing did not, like the document did not arrive to Nafeza or did not send successfully, you can always contact CargoX or us with our technical support team, and it's always, everything is solvable.
Yeah.
Like Peter
And
can
here a note as well, you can always resubmit the documents if there was something, a problem with the previous document. You just use the same ACID number, you open a new envelope, put that same ACID number in the predefined field, and resubmit a corrected document that you need to send. Right?
So when people are looking after their costs, they pay for an envelope, Peter, I understand, but they can put into it as much. There's no charge for the extra items, but there is a small fee, I think, if you have to make an amendment to the envelope. Is that correct?
Yes, let me explain on the billing part. Of course, we use units. So each filing consists of 2 parts of the cost. One is the ACI filing, which is $50 or 50 units, with then additional cost per document, 3 units per document. So if you resubmit an envelope with the same ACID number, the filing cost has already been paid with the first filing. So in the second filing, you will just need to pay for the transfer of the document.
Okay, so you are paying, you buy an envelope and you then pay for each item you put in. So if you're changing something, it's like putting a new item into the envelope.
Exactly.
But it's $3, yeah?
Per document, yes.
Per document, yeah. Okay. Now, the next one I've come to, I'm coming on to a more complex one at the moment, but if there is no letter of credit in place, is the way bill sufficient? Now, we've had discussions in the past that can we have a way bill instead of a bill of lading? What I heard before is you have to have a bill of lading, but if there is no letter of credit in place, I think this is part of the commercial negotiations, is it not? So, Waleed, can you help me on this one?
Yes, definitely. To put it in the simplest way that I can ever do, the customs law and its executive regulation, it stated that the two in any shipment is or are the commercial invoice and the bill of lading. Bill of lading. It didn't say bill of lading or any form of it. No. It stated clearly the commercial invoice and the bill of lading. So that's the 2 documents that we can offer any flexibility on because it's a law and it's stated in the executive regulation. I'm a system guy. I'm the implementer. I'm not one doing the regulations. So it needs to be the bill of lading.
As the systems guy, you just mentioned the invoice. We have not had the question come up yet today, at least I've not got to the bottom of the list, but from previous times and talking of the questions, the invoice has to be in what sort of form?
Two forms. It needs to be sent as a PDF and it needs to be sent either as an Excel or if you're using the SAP system, you can always send the XML invoice doc2 message. It also will be readable. Actually, next week we will be offering a service. It will be up and running production, which is the RPA, the robotic process automation. We're using this technology in order to facilitate the process on the exporters even more. So how can you, or what is the RPA? It's a simple tool, converter tool. It converts the PDF file into structured data. So the exporter can send it on CargoX in PDF and structured data. So And if you need any further explanation, please visit Nafeza website. There is a section especially dedicated for the electronic invoice.
Okay, but I think it's important for everyone to understand that in effect, your system is reading the invoice information from the structured data, which is either Excel or XML. Yeah. Okay. So everyone has to understand. You know, in order for each line of the goods that you are supplying, it will be coded. It will be looked at in customs, and I suspect it will be going through in an automated fashion most of the time. But that's why, you know, yes, it's going to be a bit of extra admin to get it into that shape, but it's going to be speeding up the customs process.
Let me add something. The advantage of doing so, it will help the importer tremendously in terms of valuation.
Okay. Now I'm going to rattle through a few more quick ones. Air shipments by FedEx and DHL. Currently, they are outside the scope of this, and you need to use normal documentation. And we, as the chamber, are happy to carry on certifying those. That is correct, I believe. I'm pretty confident it's right, even though Waleed's off answering something else. I think this one, Peter, you're going to be able to help us with. We have a UK company, Ruth's been asking this question, who has a distributor in Egypt. They are raising the ACID number, and, you know, as an exporter, do we need to be registered on CargoX? I think what you've been saying early on is, if anyone wants to export to Egypt, they have to be registered on CargoX.
Exactly. In order for any exporter to continue doing business with Egypt, he needs to register on CargoX, because CargoX is not just a document transfer mechanism for us guys. They are our partner in a sense that they will help us in doing 3 things which we couldn't ever dreamt of doing, which are building a tangible, clear exporter database, sending the documents in a safe and secure manner. So these 2 things, in a sense, CargoX is the single window for Egypt, for the external parties or for the international player. So,
okay. So I've got, you know, the repeating question is, the export company that is responsible for uploading the documents. I think we've been very clear on that. But one of the things that is a question is, when this kicks off, the importer in Egypt has to apply for the ACID.
yeah.
What information does the importer need to apply for ACID?
3 things: importer details, exporter details, and the exporter details will be automatically retrieved from the CargoX system once he enters the company registration number. And the 3rd thing is the basic shipment information, which are the HS code, certificate of origin, mainly. That's it.
Okay, so Marta, I hope that answers your question. If you've got any more, please add them to the list. We've got another question on the format of the documentations. I think we have answered that. But Waleed, you mentioned about your robotic system, which is going to convert from bit. When are you going to be able to send out some links on that?
I can send you some links, educational links, in order for you to understand the concept. But the service will be up and running starting next week, hopefully before the 1st of October. We're doing our best.
Okay, I think everyone should work on the basis of it will be there when it's there. Don't rely on it until it really is there. So you know, systems very often run a little bit late. Okay, in terms of speed of, I mean, when do we need to upload the documents? I've got a question here, which is, the legalized COO via chamber and embassy can take up to 14 working days. Sailing is 19 days, and the original hard copies still need to be sent to the end user. I think what we have picked up earlier is that before shipment, at time of bill of lading, the bill of lading has to be from 1st October onwards. it has to be done through the CargoX system. And I think that is, you know, if the boat has already sailed and it doesn't turn up, then you're still working on the old system.
Yeah.
It's all about the data.
I'm sure Walid will confirm what I will say now. ACI filing in combination of a verified company, meaning established digital identity and using electronic signature, is replacing legalization or attestation of physical documents at the chamber or at the embassy, right? So that needs to be clear, right?
Exactly. That's
You
why
are
when I told
self-validating the documents when you are uploading it into a blockchain-driven platform.
true, 100% true.
Okay. Now, we've got one here where someone is asking a question. Look, it's not our fault, but we all know there are problems in shipping at the moment. There are delays, whether getting into or through the ports. We have a company here where the goods are actually loaded and the goods are in the port waiting to ship. If the vessel arrives late or it departs a day or two late, is there going to be some tolerance in the early days of the introduction of this? I think this one goes to Walid rather than you, Peter.
This one goes to the Minister of Finance, not even to Walid. It's above my pay grade.
I mean, from my perspective, I come from a years of working in shipping. Usually you have the estimated date of departure of the vessel, and you know, lately in the shipping industry, delays are happening and not advanced sailing. So you should be able to retrieve the ACID number related to your estimated time of departure and communicate that to the shipping line. But then if there are delays in actual shipment, right, that the vessel is omitting or it's full, that's really not a problem, because the deadline that you need to observe is the vessel arrival into Egypt and not departure from the port of departure. I would say you have time to complete the documents before the
Exactly.
vessel arrives into Egypt.
Okay, so fingers crossed on that. Okay, we've got there's kind of I think from Rehab it's a sort of a repeat of something brought. How far up front do documents need to be sent? The documents need to be in the envelope so it actually gets the clearance, but it all has to be in place by the time of the shipping from the port. But there's a follow-on question there, which is, are there any other specific approvals required from other ministries or offices, or will that process be automated as well? And my understanding is that Nafeza, as a single window, should actually be dealing with this particular matter. So yeah.
Our platform is currently hosting more than 22 governmental entities. There are more than 3,000 governmental employees using our system on a daily basis. All are integrated with our platform, all working within our platform.
Okay, so I think it's a very clear answer, and it sounds very encouraging. Everything points to, if this all works reasonably well, and it looks as though it does through the trial period, then the process of getting through customs should have accelerated greatly. Now,
if I may add here, right? Once all the regulators will be ready to accept electronic documents, all the users will be able to use CargoX to submit those kind of documents, right? So we are already working with FITO, with certificates of origin. So basically the platform, it's from the convenience point of view, I mean, we are connected to IPPC, we are working with the banks on letter of credit processing. So it is something that the platform already enables, electronic transfer of title of the bill of lading, along with the letter of credit, FITO certificates of origin. Basically, all of the documents are able to be exchanged electronically.
In the past, we've got a question through from Lucy in that, you know, hey, CargoX is an additional expense, but if we're trading under CAD payment terms, if the customer's bank is asking for the certified certificate of origin, we've been doing the certification in the UK through the different chambers. And the Egyptian chamber has been sitting at the center of validating those on behalf of the Egyptian consulate. You know, it looks as though if the bank is still asking for a certificate of origin that needs to be certified, then that certification will continue to be necessary. How does the certificate of origin get verified under the CargoX system?
I'll take this one, Peter. The certificate of origin does not get verified on the system. There's actually two things in this issue. And any importer has the right, legal right, for him to, how can I say it, for him to be exempted from the customs tariff in some countries. For example, there are treaties between Egypt and the UK and Europe that some products are exempted from the customs tariff. You don't need to pay any taxes on it. So in order for the importer to activate this feature or this discount, he needs to present the paper document. That's the only document that will come in a paper form until this moment. It will not be legalized. It will not be stamped. We don't need anything. The employee just needs to look at the thickness of the paper, its color, until we figure out an electronic mechanism for him to go and check the validity of the certificate. But until then, this document will only be the only document that will come in a paper form. But this is not related to the clearance. He can clear and start his process with the electronic copy. Until the cargo is released, then he can show them the paper, so then he can get the discount. So the process will not get hindered at all. It's all streamlined and everything. It's just the documentation type. This document type will only be sent in two ways: PDF, electronically, and paper via courier.
Okay, thank you for that. And we've got one where there's a trading company who are not shown as the shipper on the bill of lading, but they will be the person raising the invoice. And to me, they are the exporter in this case. And there was an earlier question, which was, if we're exporting, but we're exporting X works, and I'm not quite sure what the nuance and everything else, but it seems to me anyone who is invoicing from the UK to Egypt is the exporter, and they're going to have to be registered on the system and deal with it. Is that correct?
That is 100% correct. And the X work term means that the guy receives the product or the goods on the door of the factory. So after the goods are submitted on the door of the factory, the actual manufacturer has no obligation or no liability on it. So he always tells the importer, why would you want me to be involved in the trade? My job is done here. But actually, if this guy is hesitant and don't want to join on CargoX, actually the importer will not be able to import those goods to Egypt, because as our president said it clearly, I want to know who's importing, what is he importing, and where is he importing from. Three simple questions. If any of those three questions are not answered in any case or any scenario, unfortunately, this transaction will be locked, will be denied.
Okay, it's very clear what you're seeking to achieve, and it's very clear, I think, on how it works. And one question, which is, do we need to put commodity codes for each product into the system?
Yes,
I think this is the key for having the structured data and needing to do the Excel, because it is exactly to get the product codes or commodity codes there. So I hope further that answers that one. There's a prompt here I think Peter, you did put out the link, did you not, for the presentation? It was on the chat at the very beginning. There's a number of links that Peter has put out. Does that include? I mean, today's presentation is not a presentation. It was a live run through with.
It was a live
system.
run, and I shared
Yeah.
the links to the pages that I've presented during my short time. Yeah, so. There is no presentation, PDF presentation as such. I've used the live system to actually present, and all of the elements that I've presented are available on the links that I have shared in the chat.
Okay. All right. Now, Kerry is asking a question about getting invoices certified. Clearly, I mean, as the Egyptian British Chamber, this is one of the things that we've been doing for a long time. This will eliminate the need for some of it, and this is what we need to get the clear definition around what does need to continue. Clearly, anything going on air freight needs to continue as of now. Much of what has come through as normal invoicing does not, because that can go through the CargoX system. But it seems to me that in particular for the banking sector, certificates of origin are going to have to continue to be certified, and we'll certainly be happy to
Actually, now I just want to correct something. Any document that's coming from CargoX, you don't need to verify or you don't need to legalize anything from it. That's one thing. Second thing, I think the legalization and certification of the certificate of origin, it was never a banking requirement. It was a requirement by the Ministry of Trade and the Customs Authority. And both entities have eliminated this clause or this barrier. Both of them. The new executive regulation for the new customs law does not even mention the legalization in any event. That's one. Second thing, I think I have shared with Iman earlier in August or in June. The Ministry of Trade has issued a decree that they don't need any more legalization on the certificates of origin at all. Clearly stated. So I think that two competent authorities that are mandated with this kind of transaction, both of them have eliminated this barrier. So but I'll double check also because maybe we
no. But look, that's clear. So thank you for that. A follow up really to my earlier question about sort of this X Works question. It actually is saying that if it is X Works, you do not have a bill of lading. I'm struggling to understand how anything can be shipped without a bill of lading. But you guys, I hope, understand this better than me. It's from Saunders is querying, if it's X Works, you do not have a bill of lading, how will this work? If you can understand the question, please answer.
I understand the question. It's never the case. We have Suez UK, Sumitomo, one of the biggest economies in the world, not biggest companies, one of the biggest economies in the world. 70% of their work is X Works, and they have done more than 50 trial shipments on the ACI system. So if it didn't work, then how did Sumitomo manage to do it? If there is a will, there's a way. You always have the upper hand in negotiations. I'm the client. I have the bigger hand. I have the leverage. If you, I'm sorry in this terminology, if you're lazy or if you're skeptical about convincing your other counterparty, this will also will never be accepted. Because anything that is being shipped, sea, air, even by car, it needs to have a document stating that actually I have XYZ on board with me. So, and that's in our terminology, in our industry, it's called the bill of lading.
I understand. So anyway, I think we've probably answered that. There's one thing that's coming up as slight confusion. I mean, Peter may help on this one. on the timetabling. The CargoX website is saying that the Nafeza requires ACI filing must be done within 48 hours of the departure of the vessel. And what we're saying is that the deadline is based on arrival into Egypt, but please can we confirm exactly what the requirement is? Because we've had this issue before where we have a draft bill of lading, where the bill of lading may change by the time of shipment. So can you please just walk us through what the critical timetable for exporters, please? Peter?
My perspective, and Walid, please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, sure.
You submit ACI envelope with documents. When you have the documents ready, recommendation is at least 48 hours prior vessel arrival into Egypt. Arrival into Egypt.
And why, I'll just add a little bit of thing, why we're saying within 48 hours. The sooner the better. For the short haul ship or short haul trips. From Italy, it takes, I think, almost 3 days. So the sooner you send the documents to the importer, the faster he'll finish his clearance. Therefore, reducing the demurrage, reducing the storage fees, reducing the cost, the total cost on the shipment. So if the document is ready, please send it ASAP to the importer so he can do his custom clearance process. Because remember, guys, the importer will deal with, in a sense, 22 entities. Yeah, they're all onboarded on a platform, but this will not take hours. It takes days. And that's money. So the sooner you send the documents, the better for the importer and the better for the whole transaction. Thank you, Peter. You're getting better. You're an Nafeza guy by now.
We all are. Okay. But Kaz is asking, I think something we picked up earlier. Can the invoice and packing list be adjusted before arrival? Because sometimes the cargo does not fit on. This again is, yes, you can adjust what is in the envelope, I understand. I'm looking to Peter. Peter's nodding. Yes?
Yes. If you
Okay.
have already submitted a document and then it was changed later on, use the same ACID number, open a new envelope, file the corrected document under the same ACID number.
And something I just picked up, did you say new envelope or change the contents of the existing envelope?
If the existing envelope was transferred and submitted, that's burnt on blockchain. You cannot reopen that document. You need to open a new envelope, put in the old ACID number, and then submit the corrected document.
Okay. And when you submit the new envelope, do you have to submit just what you are changing, or do you have to submit all the documents again?
Just what you are changing.
Okay. Thank you for that. Okay, and right, we've got, yeah, shipping lines are refusing to ship before receiving an ACI number. Walid is smiling. He's very happy to hear that, I suspect.
Yes.
Give
me some comfort.
Okay, but the question I've got, coming back on the ex-work question, there's a thing here where the bill of lading from someone shipping export is sitting with the importer rather than the exporter. I think this is just down to communication, surely, between the two commercial entities. Is that what you would expect, Walid?
Never will happen. Yes, it's with the importer because he took the actual goods. He received the actual goods from the factory abroad. It's actually not with the importer. It's with the freight forwarder. Okay. You get me? So yes, the freight. If you want to involve the freight forwarder, then make the freight forwarder register on CargoX. That's a plus even for us. Make him register on CargoX and let him upload the bill of lading through CargoX on the same asset number. I'm telling you that one of the biggest economies, one of the biggest companies in the world, 70% of our work are ex-works, and they have done 50 ACI transactions. So tell me, how did they do it?
No, you're meant to be telling us, Waleed.
That's why.
Okay. So again, if the freight forwarder is registered on ACI, it could be someone has to own this shipment that is being sent out.
Yeah, but that's an extra.
Needs to be
That's an
registered.
extra cost, Ian. That's not business wise. It's not very viable. The logic, if I were the one doing this transaction, I would tell the exporter, even if it's an X work, you're the one who will be sending all shipment documents. Why is this? Cost wise. Nothing more, nothing less.
Okay. Look, we've had a very good. The flow of questions is slowing up, and we've had a very good turnout of people here today. And I think, I mean, it's very clear that the people who are asking questions, are doing business with Egypt, and these are all questions to make sure they can continue to do business with Egypt. So, I mean, I really just want to say a very big thank you. It's not the first time that you have done this with a UK audience. So both Peter and Waleed, I'm grateful to you because you've been very clear. You've given us the background. You've given us an understanding of why. You've given us the practical issues. You, Peter, with your system, I think the help section that you've got looks extensive, and certainly I think most things that people need to understand on the practical basis are explained on that. You've given us the links here today for that to go through, and I say thank you to Tama for turning up today, and hopefully it's given you some insight into, at a practical level, what we're trying to do to help trade between the two countries. So, Tama, would you like to pass a comment?
Yeah, thank you, Ian. I have actually 3 questions, if I may, and Peter, and I thank them. I would like to thank them very much for the educational and informative session. That I think it's the new system is somehow easy, and definitely, as you mentioned, Ian, anything at the beginning looks a bit, complicated, but it's never complicated. With the first practice and registration, I think things will go smoothly after that. My questions, the first one is, how different is our single window, the new single window based on blockchain, different than the best practices around the world? I'm sure that the UK has its own system, France, United States, etc. And I'm sure that the Egyptian government, along with partners or associates, have studied different systems and came up with this one. If you can just shed some light about how different it is. And the second one related to that one is the starting system after a few improvements will start on October 1st. And you mentioned that there were upcoming improvements in the system in November and later on. Do you have a plan for those improvements, what you will add in November, what you will add next year, and what you aim at for the future for that system with the inclusion of air, freight, etc.? And the last one, before that system, we had the Minister of Trade and Industry Ministerial Decree number 40 that requires registration of factories for the exporters to, that covers
43 decree.
Significant number of items.
43
yeah,
and 44.
So how this will integrate into the system, or it will be removed, or what?
Tamer, please.
Thank you very much.
I'll speak completely honestly, because that's our motto: transparency, full transparency. Back in 2019, when we were thinking about implementing this system, we said, okay, how can we acquire a clear exporter database? So we had a very big expertise from our team. He actually was an ex-assistant to the Ministry of Trade. He told us, guys, we can get this database from the Ministry of Trade. They have Decree 43 and 44, which by law, any importer in Egypt need to register his exporting company and his product in the ministry. Unfortunately, when we talked with General Ismail Gaber, head of GOIC, which is the entity mandated with doing this decree, it's a rubbish data. They don't even have the identification number for the no identification number for the exporter. So the database was company XYZ, address 1234. So now, right now, Ministry of Trade and the GOIC will use the data, the clear data that is being retrieved from our partners, CargoX. They will use it and they will start filtering their own database, and they will be 100% dependent on our clear data. So in a sense, decree 43 and 44 after 2, 3, or 4 years will be integrated automatically in the system, because by default the ACI, you need to register importer and you need to register the exporter, and you need to tell me what is the type of commodity you want to import. So the 3 objectives will be met through our ACI system, not through the 43 and 44 decree. That's 1. 2, how can we, what's different between our single window and other single windows? I proudly say that there is no single window in the world that is unique as we are. Why? Because of our partners CargoX. No one has integrated the blockchain-based technology. No one has integrated the exporter and the freight forwarder in the transaction from an early stage. The Europeans, they have the ICS2, which is dependable 100% on the operators, not the importer, not the exporter. In Egypt, in Nafeza, we're seeing the whole process from a bird's eye view. I'm seeing the exporter, I'm seeing the importer, I'm seeing the freight forwarder, I'm seeing everyone involved in the transaction. Regarding the air freight will be implemented right after, when we think that the system is stable enough. Once the system has been successful and has been digested by the importers, we will shift to the air freight, which is actually in 2022. Everything will be in 2022. I hope I have answered your questions, and forgive me for being maybe a little bit stepping across the line. That's not what I meant, but trust me, we have been feeling this pain since 2019. Decree 43 and Decree 44, it's like a headache for me. When I hear it, it's like I go bang. So please, Tamer, accept my apology. So,
Certainly for me, Waleed, no apology, but your passion was clear. Tamer, I think Waleed's just about answered all of it. But I'll see if Peter, is there anything you want to add? Because I mean, you have developed a system for Egypt that presumably you want to take to other countries. So in terms of your perspective of the international position of Egypt,
I'm sorry, Peter, that's an exclusive system. We have exclusivity.
Now, I would just like to add that blockchain definitely is becoming a very important technology in the global supply chain and trade finance, right? Big corporates, the brands are taking it. The financial sector, the banks are working a number of products now involving blockchain technology. There was a lot of misconception about blockchain related to crypto. Blockchain is not crypto. Blockchain is a technology the same as internet was coming out 25 years ago. And people were asking, why do I need internet for? Today, we cannot imagine operating our private lives and our business lives without internet. The same is with blockchain. Blockchain will bring so many efficiencies to the global trade, the way we do business, the way we trust business, because blockchain in essence is the core of undisputed trust between participants in the international trade. Blockchain is a set of mathematical algorithms. We can trust 1 + 1 = 2, no matter in which part of the world you are. So that creates an automated source of trust towards all the participants. So we will see blockchain as technology of the future in the international trade.
I will share sort of my perspective with Tamar on this, in that I lived through a number of changes in Egypt, both when I was living and working there and when I've been back in the UK. And I can remember one of the biggest changes in Egypt was moving from a cash economy to electronic transfer of money. And Egypt skipped the whole thing of like lighting checks, because people wrote checks but no one trusted them, so Egypt didn't use them. People walked around with large amounts of cash and then jumped straight at a very early stage to electronic transfer of money. I think what we're seeing here is a customs system that probably was lagging a lot of places in the rest of the world, and is actually moving to be at the leading edge, and in terms of what I'm anticipating in a number of places. We have seen the discipline that's been imposed in other countries has actually provided them with information that wasn't available to the Egyptian government. So the Egyptian government has skipped that phase. Don't fix it, build the next generation. And I think this is us just at the leading edge. I mean, I think it's very exciting, and it's admirable to see Egypt doing this. And I do take my hat off to both Peter and the team at CargoX for what they've developed on this, and also Waleed and the team, where you can hear it in his passion, the drive that has been behind this to make sure it will happen, because it's not just the system, it's getting everyone in the different government departments to work together and accept that the system is giving them the information. But look, I'm holding a lot of other people up now. We've still got a number of people still online and everything else. But look, it's a very sincere welcome to you, Tamar. A welcome to the environment. But look, both Waleed and Peter, you have both been. You've not just given us the information, you also managed to do it in a bright and sufficiently entertaining way that we're all awake. Because customs documentation matters, but I don't like admin, but we have to live with it. So thank you for making it interesting, and for giving us a really good session this morning. I'm very grateful indeed. So on behalf of everyone who has been tuned in, thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Bye. Have a great day. Bye bye.
Thank you.